This little movie marathon that I had, 6 films just watching continuously for my own personal enjoyment, just to reflect, go in that time portal of nostalgia, and just recap watching movies that I've always adored for so many years. But the thing is that there's one movie that stands out to me as if not one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest on who you ask. But for me, this is a movie that stands out that just brought me into the world of cinema as an entire whole. Because this movie not only showed me what movies are, but it was, if not, the first movie I ever seen. Would you ever go back in time to change the events of history for the greater good? Who knows what anybody can do with that type of question. Or even just the idea of it. But Marty McFly, he sure as hell went back in time to change events of history, at least for his family, for the greater good. The last movie in my little marathon that I had for myself was none other than Back to the Future. I unfortunately do not have a watch on me, but I can tell that it is time to rewind and go back within the hands of time and go back to the year 1998, go back a little more to the year 1985. But 1998, when I was just a wee little scout, a wee little man, sitting in my fucking diapers, sitting on the bed, VHS players going. I was glued to the TV, watching a movie. My first ever movie. The movie that expanded my mind, showed me exactly what I was going to get myself into. At a very, very, just a fucking toddler, watching a movie like this. And like I said, my eyes were glued to that fucking television. I don't know what it was. I mean, as a baby, your mind could be thinking about anything. I don't know if it was Michael J. Fox. I don't know if it was the fucking dialogue, hearing the word damn, hearing the word bastard, hearing a bunch of different slangs that I didn't even know, being mesmerized by the year 1985 to 1955. A DeLorean? Or better yet, probably what just opened my mind mainly was the fact that I saw Marty McFly, fucking Michael J. Fox, doing his interpretation to Johnny B. Good, and I was just, well, I think that right there is what hooked me onto this movie, but who knows? At the age of 2 years old, you don't even know what. But all I know is that from looking at footage, especially with how I was watching that film, I guess that really opened my pea-picking heart to movies and music. But mainly movies. Because this is the first movie I ever witnessed. And let's just say when I saw this movie and just watching it again and again and again, multiple upon multiple times, I just fell in love with this story more and more and more. Because this to me is a definition of a word that I never really use that much at all. Because this word to me is something that I only use when it's necessary. And this movie is the word that defines what it is. Masterpiece. This is to me what a movie is. What happens when Michael J. Fox, Marty McFly, he ends up going into the year 1955 to fix his parents' marriage. But he's run into a lot of problems. He sees that his parents are, well, they didn't seem to connect. Because obviously, in the present 1985, where Michael J. Fox is, where Marty McFly is that obviously George McFly is a fucking dork, and Lorraine is an alcoholic. And obviously the kids are, well, her kids are screw-ups except for Marty McFly. Everything was going correctly. He's got his girlfriend Jennifer, soon to be truck that he wants one day, trying to get it big in music, not trying to be slack on high school, trying to at least get good grades, you name it. But the problems he gets in 1955 is that his father is obviously still a dork and a peeping Tom, but he realizes that his father is a science fiction writer. And he sees that his mom, Lorraine, was actually a very pretty lady back then. And the fact that instead it was the fact that it wasn't George who got hit by the car and it was Marty who got hit instead, it not only changed the duration and lapse of what was going on with time, it alternated into where instead of it was George, it was Marty who got hit, and Lorraine ended up getting the hots for Marty. So Marty had to fix that, and he had to meet with his old friend Dr. Emmett Brown that he later sees again, and they meet, showing exactly, well, Dr. Emmett Brown's future, no pun intended, that later happens to him as well. So this story is wild and a lot going on because it's a lot of problems that Marty McFly not only had to fix, but also put it back together in place where it should be, because the timeline of events that happened where, sure, the steady pace was going right here in the present 1985, and then all of a sudden he went back to 1955, so it goes down and starts going a little zigzag a little bit because he obviously had to break away from his mom getting hots from incest. But once Marty McFly was able to get everything back on track, he was able to get it to where it needs to be, to where George McFly ends up becoming a man, a successful writer, and Lorraine ends up becoming a very attractive MILF that George is, has the hots for, and the kid and both Marty's sister and older brother become very successful employees as well. But that's all if Marty McFly was and is capable of doing such tasks. Sure enough, he is, because we've all seen this fucking movie. So, the thing is, there is so much that I could literally sit here for hours and talk about why this movie is such a fucking masterpiece. The fact that this story alone, I mean, Robert Zemeckis has done so much great stuff, and this right here, like I said, is one of those exceptions of movies. The thing that really gets me about this film, I mean, like I said, the story, it's really fucking unique. Like, this is one of those what-if stories where what happens when you go back and you alternate time, it can be either for the good or for the worst. It really depends exactly what are the events that happens and can happen or be prevented, or if it is prevented, how is that going to alternate and affect history? It can either be for the good or the worst. For major historical events, that's something very risky to play with if such a case was to happen. But when it comes to your own family life, sure, history itself can be something, but when you have your own family that you're trying to fix, this is one of those situations where, okay, you got yourself a presentation of a story where it's giving you a scenario of what would it be like if you go back in time to fix a family that is disintegrating right in front of your very eyes, to where you can try and put it on the right track. Sure enough, Marty McFly was able to do that. He wasn't able to fuck up history. He wasn't able to necessarily, do anything later down in life. Sure, it did alternate once he was the one who got hit by the car, but he was able to get back on track, and he was able to fix it, obviously with the help of Dr. Emmett Brown, and teaching George how to be a fucking man and how to get chicks. Now, the story itself is superb. It makes you think and wonder, and how this plays out. The way that it was shot, obviously the screenplay and writing, I don't even need to say a fucking thing whatsoever. I really don't, because it's perfect. It's literally perfect writing. But the thing is that, like I said, the way it was shot, phenomenal camera work. Now, as for a lot of the songs that were featured in this film, again, the music is sublime. Huey Lewis in the News wrote fucking 2 original tracks for this goddamn movie, The Power of Love and Back in Time, which those 2 songs, I mean, specifically whenever he played The Power of Love live, this was during the time when 4 was coming out, and he was able to really make this particular song a huge international smash hit for him. And this song became, if not the biggest fan favorite song, or one of the biggest fan favorite songs for Huey Lewis and the News. So the thing is that within this particular movie itself, now, like I said, Huey Lewis, he actually did play a cameo in the movie, which was very early in this particular picture. Now, another thing that I absolutely admired about this film is the fact that the film has that suspense element where you want to see where Marty is going to transcend to. Like, where is he going to pick up? Like, what is going to continue happening? Like, his family is falling apart in his very eyes, because you see that fucking photograph he has of himself and his siblings, where the more that they are starting to dissipate, the more that George and Lorraine are not being connected whatsoever and drift and fall apart, it's vanishing. And the more that they're vanishing, the more that it's not creating the family that Marty McFly needs to be. Especially when it came to the very last scene where you were thinking, oh, is this it for Marty McFly? Once that fucking kiss happened, that to me is fucking cinema! The music, the song Earth Angel that was played in the background set the mood for the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. That set the mood for how you should plant a kiss with the fucking woman that you are destined to be with. That to me is romance. Perfect romance that I love seeking in a movie. When I want to see romance in a film, sure, I can be particular. But then again, the 1980s did, at least for me, did phenomenal with that catalog of having romance or a coming-of-age story. But this movie right here did romance to a perfect T. Not only growing two people who didn't even know each other whatsoever, but getting them to introduce, breaking away from, obviously, a relationship that was never going to fucking happen, but introducing one to another and obviously with the help of Marty, having that build over time. And the fact that you had Biff Tannen, who was the biggest bully of them all, yet the guy who played as him is the nicest fucking guy you'll ever meet. But Biff Tannen, the guy himself, the fact that he was a big role into helping Lorraine and George get together says something. Sure, bullies aren't a good thing to have in your life, but in this movie, the bully that George McFly had helped him. He was able to create the fist, fucking punch Biff, and show Lorraine that he's got courage. More than just being a geek, but he's got courage. Beautiful stuff. It was the proof in the pudding. But there's a lot of details in the story within this movie now. Originally, it wasn't supposed to be Michael J. Fox. He was off doing other projects. It was supposed to be Eric Stoltz playing as Michael J. Fox. They had the film shot. I've seen pictures. I've seen some footage of Stoltz in the film. But personally, at least in my own perspective, I don't think this movie would have worked properly with Stoltz playing as Michael J. Fox. But once he left, Michael J. Fox came in. He did the movie, reshot everything, and lo and behold, look what we got now. We ended up getting 2 sequels afterwards. We ended up getting a second and a third installment. But despite having the second one, a little reference there, the first one itself is a fucking chef's kiss. The storytelling, the romance element, the characters and personalities that you grow to learn and see how they're connecting, the whole entire build between Michael J. Fox helping both Lorraine and George simultaneously, separately, trying to get them together. The project that he was given to get his parents to be what they need to be later in life after and once he is born. It's perfect with how Michael J. Fox, Marty McFly, was able to do it. Now, I like Michael J. Fox as an actor. I mean, he's playing some really good stuff. But again, everybody knows, and at least for me, this was the film. But then again, the dialogue in this film, like, there was a lot of liners where they were literally teasing Like when Marty was in Lorraine's house, and the fact that they went out for dinner, and when Lorraine's father was basically saying that that he's an idiot, and I'm sure his parents are idiots too. I love how the camera itself was literally panning at Lorraine. Now I'm going a little ahead, but going back, Lorraine's mother was asking Marty, "Has your mother been wondering where you are at? I'm a little worried. Should I give her a call?" And then Michael J. Fox, fucking Marty, was looking at Lorraine like, "Yeah, I think you won't have to worry about what's going on with my mother." So because that right there, little details like that, especially hitting those little insights of what's going on, I really like that creativity right there. Like that is fucking slick. Like that is really fucking smooth, adding lines like that, especially where it's poking fun at both his parents without even the realization. It was the shots on either George or Lorraine. Now, Dr. Emmett McBrown, the guy's a nut. The guy's a fucking nut, but he was a genius. Creating the fucking time machine out of a DeLorean. Who would have thought? And obviously, the interaction that him and Marty had, showing that they were really close friends. I don't even need to say anything. It speaks for itself how fucking close they were. It's a pair of two characters that really touched your heart. A mad scientist, a young rebellious teenager. The fact that they were close friends. Phenomenal. Back to the Future. It's a fucking masterful 6 out of 5. It really is. It's my favorite movie it's one of my favorite movies, if not the first movie I ever saw. It's one of my all-time favorites in general of the 1980s and of all time in the 1980s and life itself. I fucking adore this movie to no end. But folks, that's going to have to do my little talk on Back to the Future, because like I said, if I stay here long enough, I'm just going to keep babbling and babbling and babbling. So that's going to have to do with my talk on Back to the Future. And for that, time to go back in time once again.